Well, all right. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Hot Seat Automotive Podcast. It's your buddy CJ here. And tonight, we're talking about all things automotive industry, all the things that real automotive enthusiasts are most interested in. Cars, real gearhead talk. This is the place to be for that real gearhead talk. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to all my subscribers. You know your buddy CJ loves each and every one of you. I'm so grateful to each of you. If you're new, please give me a like and subscribe. Welcome. Around here, we talk about cars, the automotive enthusiast hobby, the automotive industry. We talk about exotic cars and sports cars and muscle cars and classic cars. We talk about motorsports and automotive enthusiast events, road trips, rallies, car meets, car shows, everything right here on Hot Seat Automotive Podcast. Listen, I say real gearhead talk because this is what car guys do. This is what automotive enthusiasts and car girls and car guys, this is what we like doing. And guys, the channel's just been growing so incredibly. We're having so much fun. But let's get into this. Enough of the small talk, CJ. Tonight, we got a showdown. I'm going to give it to you straight. We got ownership experience. Lamborghini Huracan versus Chevrolet Corvette C8 Z06. Which one's better? What are the upsides of each? What's it like to own and drive a Lamborghini Huracan? What's it like to own and drive a Chevrolet Corvette C8 Z06? What's the difference? What's the similarities? Which one's better? Listen, as you know, your buddy CJ is a lifelong automotive enthusiast, okay? Number one. Number two, I've owned many cars. I'm going to do an episode here in the near future where I'm going to talk about some of the cars your buddy CJ owned way back and what that was like. And gonna kind of give you some of that. But coming back to present day, specifically, I want to settle this once and for all. Listen, this is Evander Holyfield versus Mike Tyson. Or maybe Evander Holyfield versus Riddick Bowe. Yeah, those were better fights. No, I'm kidding. Listen, guys, this is the showdown. This is the heavyweight fight. We ain't pulling no punches. Your buddy CJ always gives you that straight talk, guys. And I really want to share with you, in all seriousness, my candid experience having purchased my 2023 C8 Z06 last week. Okay. Having taken it now on a road trip, on a rally with Blacktop Excursions, where I put some 600 miles on the car total, including a mountain run, okay, and I've got a whole other video about that, how the Z06 did on the mountain run. Having driven it additional days, I spent Sunday driving both cars. I've had my Lamborghini Huracan for about a year and a half. We'll talk about the specs on that car in a moment. I've had the Chevrolet Corvette Z06 for a handful of days. But this weekend was sort of my initial reaction, and I want to give you my initial brain dump, if you will, on comparing and contrasting the two cars. And that's what I aim to do in this episode. Now, full transparency, this is going to be an ongoing series, if you will. Obviously, we talk about a lot of things on this channel, but I will continue to give you updates and share my experience with you with both cars and anything else that I add to the stable. I got a few other things in the works, more to come on that. But, and of course, if I make any changes, and, you know, I'm a car guy, typical car guy, right? Always looking. I'm really thrilled with what I've got right now, but always looking for the next one. And if anything changes, we'll update that. But guys, let's get right into it. Tonight is the showdown, the comparison, contrast, and review, if you will, of your buddy CJ's initial experience and kind of weighing out and analyzing the differences, the similarities between the C8 Z06 and the Lamborghini Huracan. Are there any similarities? You're fitting to find out. You stick around. You give me that like and subscribe. Come on. You stick around with this episode. Listen, I'm going to give it to you straight, okay? And here we go. Let's get right into it, guys, because we have fun around here. So first things first, let's take a look at it, right? And I'm going to go over various categories tonight. We're going to talk about looks. We're going to talk about interior. We're going to talk about the sound that the two cars make, the engine noise, the exhaust note, interior and exterior exhaust noises. We're going to talk about what it's like driving around. Look, full transparency and honesty. Look, I'm not a track guy. If you want a track review or a track comparison, there are dozens, if not hundreds of YouTube videos with people taking C8s, Z06s, you name it, every Corvette you could imagine, ZR1s, and putting them on tracks. Go watch those. I watch them. If you want to know how the Huracan does, there are countless hundreds of videos on Huracans, on tracks. That's not really what we're talking about here. On this channel, I talk to you about what a real car guy, maybe an average car guy, maybe your buddy CJ, what my experience has been. And I'm not, I don't claim to be Mario or Andretti or Senna or any of these other things. I say it all the time. I'm a car guy, that drives and enjoys his cars. That's the perspective that I'm going to bring. I don't claim to be some sort of academic expert on all things for both of these cars. Nah, that's boring. If you want that, go read a book, right? Nah, on this channel, we have fun. And I'm just going to give you that straight talk. We're going to talk about the acceleration, what it's like to drive these cars, what you feel when you accelerate, which one's better. Comfort, there's a clear winner here on that front. Quality, overall, my first impressions on quality between the two cars. Build, feel, fit and finish. Handling, brakes, what these cars are like on road trips or extended driving. Practicality. Fun factor is another criteria we're going to look at. And then we're going to look at ownership experience overall. Now, again, I've had countless cars over the years. I got to actually put it on paper to get the final count. I will give that to you. But I've had that Huracan for about a year and a half now. I've only had the Z06 for less than a week. But I've been driving it, and I've been driving both cars. As you can see, your buddy CJ's outside. That was this Sunday that I took this photo with both of my cars in the neighborhood here, and just comparing them and doing different things and enjoying them and kind of reflecting on. I want to give you that raw reaction. I did not rehearse this episode. I never do. I come on here. I give it to you straight. This is me. Your buddy CJ's being real with you, and I want to share my experience because that's what we do. And please, by the way, if you have both of these cars or if you've driven both or if you have a point of view or a question, please share it. Leave me those comments. Your buddy CJ always answers all the comments that he can, time permitting. So why don't we get into this? Okay, guys, let's first things first for these two heavyweights, if you will. Let's take a look at specs for each of these cars. And I'm going to start out with the Huracan. Okay, here's my 2016 Lamborghini Huracan. This is an LP610-4. Okay, what does that mean? For those of you, some of you are Lamborghini enthusiasts. You may know this already. But the Huracan actually has a model number designation. The LP610-4 is the all-wheel drive variant. If you see, like the 570-2, that's a rear-wheel drive. Big difference between the rear-wheel drive and the all-wheel drive Huracans, number one. Now, I'm not here to get into all that tonight, but I've driven both. I bought an all-wheel drive. I wanted that experience. I prefer a lot of things about the all-wheel drive in the Huracan, and I get it. There's perhaps for the track guys will say, well, no, you want to be able to get that rear end loose and break it and do all these things when you're on the track. I don't do that. I don't care about that. That's not me. I wanted the all-wheel drive Huracan. I bought an all-wheel drive Huracan. This car, I was actually just looking at the window sticker. When this car was new, it was right at $280,000. Let me say that again. This car was nearly a $300,000 car when new in 2016. Okay. That's relevant, right? I think it was $279,884 or something like that. It's a big money car, right? Okay. So puts it in, I'll be blunt. This car is in another class than any Corvette on earth. Let me say that first. And Corvette guys, I don't care if you don't want to hear that. It's real talk. If you think your Corvette is a supercar, think again. You probably haven't driven many supercars. I got to say it. I got to say what needs to be said. And if nothing else, look at the price point. It's real. Performance is another thing. We're going to get into that. I know there's impressive performance with both cars, but there's a difference. Pluses and minuses on both sides. But I got to give you my point of view. Let's keep going. Guys, this car has, that 610 in the Model number designation indicates the power output. Technically, it's rated for about 602 horsepower at the crank at 8250 RPM, about 412 foot-pounds of torque. Okay, it's a 5.2 liter naturally aspirated V10. Okay, so V10 in our Lamborghini Huracan, you're down 2 cylinders in the Corvette Z06, but guess what? She's up on horsepower over the Huracan. We'll get to that in a moment. This car is all-wheel drive. I mentioned that. It's got a dual-clutch transmission, 7-speed, okay? And we'll talk about, what the Corvette has in a moment. In terms of front tires, they're 245, 30 are 20s. The rears are 305s, 30 are 20s as well, being an all-wheel drive. Okay, car weighs in at about 3,400 pounds. Remember that number, 3,400 pounds. 0 to 60, about 2.8 seconds. Anything under 3, I've been saying this for years, is ridiculous. And I've done 2.5 seconds. I've done 2.7. I've done 2.8 in cars. I've done 2.9. It doesn't matter. What do I mean by that? As a typical driver of performance cars, I'm not Mario Andretti. I'm not on the track. You ain't going to feel the difference. Anybody who tells you, well, my car's 2.5 and I compare it to a 2.8 and I could... No, you can't. You can't really appreciate the difference. Anything under 3 seconds, wild. Now, I know if you look at certain cars that at the 2 second, sub 2 second, like that's a whole other thing. But you get between 2.4 and 3 seconds, anything 0 to 60 at that level, you launching rocket ship style. That's just the way it is. Okay. Quarter mile in this car, about 10.6 seconds. It's documented on YouTube. Go check it out. Look at the all-wheel drive Huracans, how they do compared to the rear-wheel drive. The different generations of the Huracans, the facelifts, minor performance, and other changes. They do it. In some cases, they do a little bit better. Some cases, they do a little bit worse. But let's call this 10.6 seconds in the quarter mile. About 132 mile per hour trap speed. The wheelbase in this car is about 103 inches. So those are some of the specs. You can see my car is that orange Borealis. This is a beautiful color. Again, I'm not going to delve too deep into this, but this color was actually a $4,500 option. I was just looking at the window sticker. It really, not that it changes color, but it's got that thing going on with the pearl effect. Like this car in the sun is just absolutely striking. I'll tell you that. And this car needs to be seen in the sun. And this is one of my favorite colors that Lamborghini still has available. It's Arancio Borealis in Italian. Don't make fun of my pronunciation, but I call it Orange Borealis because I'm not all fancy like some of you guys. Stop being bougie, some of you guys. You complain about pronunciation and all this. You ain't no car guy if you're obsessed about the way one car guy pronounces a word versus another. I digress. Chill out and enjoy. Don't take yourself so seriously, people. We having fun. Car guys, ain't no rules. You ain't setting no rules for car guys. Get out of here. Guys, we have fun on this channel. Come on, leave me those comments. Guys, let's talk about the rival tonight. Let's get into this. Let's talk about that Chevy Corvette Z06 I got sitting out in the garage because I really want to get into sort of the differences, pluses, minus, etc. Check this out. Check it out. This is your buddy CJ's new 2023 Chevrolet Corvette Z06. Okay, this car has a 5.5 liter dual overhead cam, 32 valve flat plane crank V8. This car's putting out about 670 horsepower to the crank. So it's up on horsepower over the Huracan, okay? This car is about 460 foot-pounds of torque. So that number's higher than the Huracan as well. In terms of 0 to 60 time, this car will do it in about 2.6 seconds. So you get 2.8 in the Huracan, 2.6 in the Z06. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to launch. You can't sit here and compare cars solely by these technical specs. Keyboard warriors and people who want to compare magazine articles and internet articles. That's not driving a car. Driving a car is driving a car. It's out there in the streets or on the track or the drag strip. And I claim, having done a lot of driving, including some performance driving, at the end of the day, it's going to come down to launch when it's that close. It's too close to call, candidly. Now, the way they accelerate, the way they pull 0 to 100, 0 to 120 could be difference makers as well. But I just want to get a little bit more into some of the specs before I give you my opinion. Okay. Quarter mile, about 10.6 seconds. So it's dead nuts with the Huracan. Okay. It's right there with the Huracan. At the end of the day, going to come down to reaction time and the driver, typically, right? It just depends. And the YouTube videos are the YouTube videos. You can go watch them if you want to see actual real world comparisons. I'm just giving you the specs. This car redlines about 8,500 RPM. It's got an 8-speed dual clutch transmission. This car weighs about 3,500 pounds. So even the weight is very similar to the Huracan. The C8 is a little heavier. Depending on configuration. The wheelbase is about 107 inches on this car, so it's a bit longer wheelbase than the Huracan. And the red line's about 8,700 RPM, okay? So those are the specs and the particulars that I want to share. This car is actually a 2LZ. This car has carbon ceramic brakes. My Huracan has the carbon ceramic brakes as well. So that's an interesting comparison. This car is rear-wheel drive. This car is not all-wheel drive. So yes, the cars are in different classes, but there's a lot of things that make this an interesting comparison, which is why your buddy CJ wanted to come on here and give you my initial impressions. And keep in mind, this is just initial impression from my first few days of ownership of the Z06. And again, having owned that Huracan for about a year and a half. So context is everything. I want to be sure I give you guys the context. Guys, let's keep going because now I want to get into some of the categories. Head to head between the Z06 and the Lamborghini Huracan. I want to get into the categories. First things first, the looks. Okay? Couple things. These are both striking cars. Let's talk about the Lamborghini. And actually, I want to stop and show you a different photo of the Huracan. So from a look standpoint, the Z06, the C8, I think, is a really sharp, good-looking car and a very unique and sporty-looking car, but it doesn't look like this. This Lamborghini has a shocking appearance, as do pretty much all Lamborghinis. I've got a whole other episode about that. The Lamborghini takes the edge for me, takes the win, because the looks are just so over the top. The C8's a good-looking car. The C8 Z06 is a more aggressive-looking C8 in every way, but it don't look like this. Like the Huracan, to me, I look at it and it's just so aggressive, so over the top. You can tell the all-wheel drive Huracans have those kind of fangs up front. Look at that thing. It just looks menacing. It just looks badass, right? And I claim, from a striking, shocking, appearance standpoint, I don't claim the Huracan is beautiful. Lamborghini Huracans are not beautiful. Okay, that's not why I bought this car. I bought this car for the aggregate effect and ownership experience, and it has not disappointed. And just speaking from a look standpoint, I give the nod to the Huracan. It doesn't look like anything else on the road. It is absolutely striking and shocking, and it's evidenced by the reaction people have. When they see this Huracan, people lose their minds, okay? People who know what the Z06 is will lose their minds, and I've already had some of that happen. But let's be blunt. Hundreds of thousands of Corvettes on the road. How many, was it Chevy make 20,000 C8s or something last year? I know a small subset of that, are Z06s. It is a special car, but you will never mistake a C8 for a supercar. You just won't. It's a super special Corvette from an appearance standpoint, in my opinion, but it's not a supercar. It just isn't, Let me go ahead and pull up that C8 because I do think it's an absolutely incredible looking car. So let's take a look at it. Here's my Chevy Corvette C8 Z06. So a couple things. I like the appearance of the C8. As you know, I'm a veteran of Corvettes. I've had several, and I put about 18,000 miles on a 2021 C8 Corvette Stingray Z51 with some interesting appearance options that I had on that car. And I thought it was really cool and a beautiful car as well. I'd say generally, the lines are more smooth and flowing on the C8 Z06 with that aggression kind of added on. Look at the intakes, look at the fairings, look at the width, look at the wing, look at the front end, the grill, everything about the C8 Z06 is just that much better than a C8 Stingray. Sorry, I got to be blunt, like from an appearance standpoint. And I'm not dumping on the C8 Stingray. I'm a huge fan of the C8 Stingray. But from an appearance standpoint, the Z06 is just a better looking car. It's a more aggressive looking car. It does have a striking factor to it, right down to the wheels, everything about this car. I just absolutely love the ground effects, but for me, and I love it in the black. I wanted a blacked out Z06, and that's exactly what I got. And I love it, and I'm thrilled with it. People who know what this car is lose their mind over it. I've already noticed that, and they get really excited about it. We're already at a point with the C8s where there's a lot of them on the road, especially where I live. It depends on where you live, but the C8 is, let's be blunt, it is definitely an attention getter in general. It's not like a Huracan as an attention getter, candidly. It just won't generate the same level of reaction. But the Z06, even people who don't really know cars, I've noticed, they just stare. Like, what is that? They can tell it's different. They can absolutely tell it's different. Now, we're going to get into some of the other things, talking about interior, for example. So let's talk about interior and comfort together. Okay. So comfort, I got to give the nod to the Z06. Comfort, practicality. Which car would I rather take on a road trip? Hands down, I'm taking the Z06. I've got multiple road trips planned already. I'm going to drive this car. I'm going to put miles on this car. I put 18,000 miles on my Stingray Z51 C8 in 3 years. I may put more miles on this Z06. This will not be a garage queen. And I put miles on my Huracan as well. Not as many. I put about 5,500 miles on my Huracan in a year and a half. So I'm not, I'm doing pretty good on it, right? Like I'm putting miles on that Huracan, but not at the same level. Like I generally won't do road trips with the Huracan. I'll tell you why. I'm kind of bleeding these topics into one another because I think they are interrelated, and let me go ahead and while we're talking here, I'm going to switch up the screen because on Hot Seat Automotive Podcast, we like looking at and talking about these things together. When I think about these two cars, interior-wise, you are more comfortable in that C8 Z06. Guys, if you out there, C8 Stingray, guys, if you want to know what it's like to get in and out of a Z06 and what the interior is like, it's basically the same experience as a Stingray. From an interior standpoint, interior quality, yes, there are nuanced differences between the two cars, but basically it's a C8, right? From an interior standpoint, yes, there's a few little differences, but it is a very comfortable interior. I like the GT seats. This car has the GT seats, what's also known as the GT1 seats in a Stingray. These are the comfortable seats. Those are the seats I wanted. Your buddy CJ, I'm like a 6'2" dude, right? So my Z06 has these comfortable seats, which for road trips, perfect. I'm not going on the track. I might do track events, but very limited, right? I don't claim to be race car guy. That's not me. I want something I can be comfortable in. And the C8 Z06 gives you that. And I did 600 miles this weekend in the car. Nothing but smiles and comfort. Interior build quality. People talk a lot of junk about Chevy Corvettes for years. They did it with the C7. They've done it with the C8s. Oh, the interior sucks. The interior's poor. They did it with the C6s. I don't agree with that. I think it's a Chevrolet product. It's not a supercar. It's not a luxury product. It's what I consider to be a good quality interior. I know people have had problems. The seam, whatever, falls apart on the dash, but whatever. Every manufacturer has defects and problems. Do you know I looked at McLaren's, $200,000, $300,000 McLaren's, where the interior's falling apart? Don't even get me started on Ferraris. Ferrari guys, I don't want to have to roast you tonight. I'll do it. You get me sideways, I'm going to roast you, Ferrari guys. Your buddy CJ has fun. But guys, listen, every manufacturer, BMW, Ford, Toyota, they all have quality problems sometimes. I'm not defending it. It's just a part of the manufacturing process. Bentley has quality problems, like Rolls-Royce, fill in the blank, right? Just stop it. So I claim Chevrolet interior. It's actually a comfortable place, and I've had good experiences with my Corvettes. One of the old Corvettes, I owned an old C4, was my first Corvette. Yeah, after 20-something years, the interior starts to, it doesn't hold up that well. What the hell do you think? It's an old car, But anyway, I claim C8 takes the nod here. What's it like in the Huracan? Okay, number one, you getting in and out of a Lamborghini Huracan, this car is lower, guys. And I've got a whole other video, a short video where I talk about what it's like to own a Lamborghini Huracan. And I can give you more information. Hit me up with the comments if you want it. But they sit lower. The roof line is lower. And you can tell from this photo, although it's kind of on an angle, it's a considerable difference. I don't have the numbers. I don't care what the numbers are. Lamborghini Huracan is a lot lower, particularly the roof line. It's not difficult to get in and out of, a Lamborghini Huracan versus a C8 Z06, but it's lower, okay? So listen, I'm not a 30-year-old guy anymore. So listen, maybe you 30-year-old guys, you 28-year-old guys, 25, you say, you're laughing at me. You're saying, CJ, it doesn't matter. I hop in and out of my cars. Well, I got socks your age. Come on. Real talk. Listen, that's a big difference. Quality, look, I give the nod to the Huracan. I'm not dumping on the quality in the Chevy, but the Lamborghini Huracan is a more special place than the interior of that C8. You get in it, it's like, wow, this is cool. You got kind of those cockpit switches. I should have taken some photos, but it's all well documented. Listen, it's all over the internet. This car has been out for years. You've got toggle switches with covers. You've got rocker switches like aircraft. Like the interior of the Lamborghini Huracan is 100% supercar. The interior of the C8 Z06 is C8 Corvette, and that's not a bad thing. It's America's sports car. It's not America's supercar. Sorry. It's just not. From an interior standpoint, it's self-evident. It is a really cool interior, and I prefer it for road trips, but it's not nearly as special as the Huracan. So that's my comparison on those two fronts, okay? Let's talk about sound, okay? And I want to give you a different shot, guys, and hopefully you're enjoying the episode. Give me a like and subscribe. Leave me those comments. So, and again, this is just my first impression, having owned, the Z06 for a few days and having owned the Huracan for a year and a half and having owned too many cars to count as a car guy for decades. The sound. So first things first, let's talk about our friend, the C8 Z06. It does not sound like a Corvette. I'm here to tell you, listen, C8 Stingray it sounds every bit like a Corvette, right? The 6.2 liter. And with that, especially with the sport exhaust, my Stingray had the sport exhaust. This C8 Z06 plays a symphony out the exhaust pipes, okay? And that 5.5 liter flat plane crank is no joke. It's just blows my mind. Still, I was driving the car today. I ran a couple errands with it. Absolutely incredible. Man, oh man, the noises that C8 Z06 makes. It is ridiculous, and it turns heads Like people, I put that thing in sport or track mode. Sport is the sweet spot, I claim, for a C8 Z06. Touring, it's not as dramatically quiet as a C8 Stingray, but it is significantly quieter than sport. And the way this car winds out with that 8,700 RPM redline in track mode, forget it. Game over. Nothing sounds like a C8 Z06. It does not sound like a Corvette. You cannot compare it to any other Corvette, period. Period. I've driven them all. I've owned a bunch of them. Like, you can't compare it to anything else. And I'm just being real with you, right? It's not saying it's better. It's just my ownership experience. The C8 Z06, it's perfect. I will not mess with the exhaust in this car. It's exactly what I kind of knew it would be. But now, having driven it for a few days, I'm thrilled with it. I love this car. I really enjoy it. By the way, the other thing I like about this photo, you can kind of see more of the difference in height. Look closely and study it. That Huracan, it sits lower and feels different when you're in it. Now, let's talk about the noise the Huracan makes. The Huracan is a much more violent sounding car. That's the analogy. You got that V10, okay? This car, you can have it in Strada mode, right? Which is street mode, and it's kind of chill. You put this thing in sport mode or track mode, race mode, it's ridiculous. It invades your mind and your soul. You can't escape it. It's more F1 car sound to me. That's your buddy CJ's way of describing it. The C8 Z06 sounds incredible. Don't get me wrong. And it's next level. It doesn't sound like any other Corvette ever in history. But the Huracan is just, it sounds like war. It sounds like, it's just ridiculous. There's tons of YouTube videos on that too. And some of you may have owned or driven these cars. Some of you may have heard or seen these cars many times out in the wild. But to me, huge difference. Which one's better? It's a toss-up. What are you into? For me, I'm going to give the nod to the Huracan in this category only because it's just so wild. It's just so wild. My C8 Z06 exhaust note is one of my favorite cars of all time. But the Huracan, listen, there's no substitute for a Lamborghini Huracan in V10, in sport or race mode. There's just no substitute. Ferrari is a different vibe. Porsche is a different vibe. The C8 Z06 is not the same. It's different. It's a very different. It's not as sharp. How do you like that? It's not as sharp and piercing. That's how I describe it. Leave me comments if you describe it differently. The C8 Z06 is incredible and does not sound like any Corvette ever in history, but it doesn't sound like the Huracan. They're different. Why wouldn't they be? They're different engine architectures. The Huracan exhaust is much more piercing and disruptive. I'll say that. Whereas, the C8 Z06 just sounds incredible, but in a very different way. Acceleration. And let me go ahead and change screens here. And kind of let's look at the two cars again together. Guys, in terms of acceleration between the C8 Z06 and the Lamborghini Huracan, I just gave you the specs. The 0 to 60 is very close. They're sub 3 second cars, okay? They're both fantastic experiences. I haven't put them both on a drag strip or anything like that, but I'll be honest with you, if I had never driven a Huracan and I only drove the C8 Z06, I'd say this is the most intense experience of my life, right? The issue is the Huracan will ruin it for you in some ways, depending on what you're into. Hear me out. The Huracan is a violent acceleration. Yes, that dual clutch transmission is better than the old F1 style transmission, 100%. But the Huracan acceleration, is like a dragon. Like it is violent, coupled with the noise the engine makes. It's wild. It's an experience like no other. The C8 Z06 for me is a bit more linear. It is not violent. It is faster and quicker than a C8 Stingray, okay? And it feels, sounds, shifts different, okay? It's just, it's also very different from the Huracan. Which one's better? For most people, be a toss-up. I got a feeling that, if you're more about comfort and smoothness, you're going to prefer the C8 Z06. If you're more about, that true supercar, unbelievable, just wild experience, the Huracan is a wild acceleration experience. How do you like that? C8 Z06, a bit more refined. I can't even say that. How is it possible I can say that? I'm not going to say refined. Scratch that. I'm going to say it's a bit more reasonable, okay? Not violent. It's more of a diplomatic experience. How do you like that? The C8 Z06 acceleration is a bit more diplomatic and user friendly, whereas the Huracan experience is like, boom, a bomb just went off in your face and you got a rocket strapped to your back. That's just how I would categorize the two different experiences. There's not one that's any better. They're just very different. And I think that's an important message. My C8 Z06, let's call that a $135,000 car. Let's call the Lamborghini Huracan a $280,000 car when was new. There's a big money difference between the two, okay? While a lot of the performance specs are the same, the ownership experience is not the same. The driving experience is not the same. Just because a car is fast doesn't make it the equivalent or better than anything else on the road, right? Just because you're the fastest or the quickest car, there's more to owning a car than just being fast and quick. And that's what your buddy CJ's giving you tonight. That real gearhead talk about what it's like. I'm comparing and contrasting these cars. So both fabulous acceleration, okay? Just very different. And I hope my description helped out there. Handling, I got to say, C8 Z06, it's still early. I put 500-600 miles on it. I really like the way this car handles. The Lamborghini Huracan, very impressive, fast steering, ridiculously fast steering. The car will do anything you want it to on the street, and with spirited driving as well. So it's really close. Comfort of ride clearly goes to the C8 Z06. 100% comfort of ride and everyday drivability, C8 Z06 wins. The C8 Z06 is a cream puff compared to the Lamborghini Huracan, if you want my real opinion, in terms of everyday drivability. The Huracan is just so over the top and in your face, and just every moment is wild in a Huracan, and it's harsh. The Huracan is a harsh car to drive. Real talk. The C8 Z06 is not a harsh car. Anyone who tells you a C8 Z06 is harsh probably hasn't driven higher-end super performance cars. Real talk. Like, I don't find the C8 Z06 harsh. I compare it more to like a Porsche GT3. How do you like that? I've said it before. Porsche guys, I know you get mad, but I haven't owned a GT3, but I've driven several of them. And when my day one experience with the Z06 reminded me of the Porsche 911 GT3s I've driven. I've driven 991s. I've driven 991.2s. I have not driven a 992, full disclosure. But what I will tell you is that the C8 Z06 still, there's still a level of comfort. There's still a level of drivability where you say, I don't mind driving this car every day. I ran errands in the car today. I ran out for lunch, and your buddy CJ was out in the streets with that Z06. And just like my Stingray, like I'm good. The other thing too, can we be blunt? You have so much utility in that C8 Z06. You got a front trunk, perfect for overnight bags, for my laptop bag, for a little cooler. You got the rear trunk, which does get hot. Yeah, it gets warm to hot, depending on what's going on. But to put a folding chair or two. I put two folding chairs in my C8 Z51 Stingray for road trips. I put bags back there. I put merch back there. Like, you can load the front trunk and the rear trunk with a lot of stuff. Two people can do a week-long road trip in a C8 Z06, hands down. You will not do a week-long road trip in a Lamborghini Huracan. I would not take this car. Now, I know sometimes certain high-end rallies, they have like a luggage car and that type of thing. But listen, I just don't find the Huracan as comfortable. Sorry. And maybe it's because I'm a guy, at a certain age. Like, I'll be blunt with you. Like, I'm not 30 years old anymore. I'm not 25 years old anymore. Like, I want comfort, and I am comfortable in the Huracan. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't own it if I wasn't. But for extended drive times, you start to feel like, I want to get up and stretch my legs. That's me. I'm being real with you. And I got no bones about admitting any of this to you, The car, the C8 Z06 is easier to get in and out of than the Huracan. Doesn't mean the Huracan is super difficult to get in and out of, but the C8 Z06 is easier. Okay? And I, hands down, will pick the C8 Z06 as more of a daily-able car. It's more of a safe bet for a daily than the Huracan. Now, I take my Huracan everywhere. You see your buddy CJ at restaurants, grocery stores, everything with my Huracan because I drive it. I drive it during the week. This is not a garage queen either. But if I'm going, whatever, on a road trip, on a rally, and it's got overnight. Look, when you have something like a Lamborghini, let me be blunt. For me, for your buddy CJ, I'm always thinking like, all right, where am I going to park this thing? All right, it's got an axle lift in it. The car sits a lot lower than the Z06, but I always got to be thinking about the axle lift and is it going to be enough? Breaking down, let me be blunt. I've got warranties and roadside assistance on both of these cars, right? Having said that, do I want to be 500, 800 miles from home in my Huracan and have something break down? In a Lamborghini on the road? Yes, I can get the car serviced and taken care of and towed anywhere it needs to be with a really good tow or transport vehicle. But do I want to be bothered with that? Or do I want the Chevrolet? I'll take to any Chevrolet dealer. Real talk, the Chevrolet is just, it's a mass-produced Chevrolet Corvette. Yes, it's a Z06, much more limited than a Stingray, but these cars are still mass-produced over something like a Lamborghini or Ferrari, Aston Martin, McLaren. And I'd say the same thing for a Porsche, by the way. I'd rather be on a road trip with a Porsche than a Lamborghini any day. It's just a lot more practical, right? If you're in a 911, you got the rear seats, you can store stuff, and then you also have a front. If you have a Cayman, you got a front trunk and a rear trunk. Quite practical, actually. I'd put the Z06 or any C8 in that same category. It's just a better daily and a much better road trip car. Hands down, not even close. We talked about practicality for all the reasons I just mentioned. Anywhere you go in a Lamborghini, people are going to be taking pictures next to your car, right? People are going to be losing their mind. People are going to be following you. I've had people follow me, ask if they could take photos of the car. They ask me what it is. They ask me what I do for a living. Like, real talk, I'm just being honest with you. That's part of the Lamborghini ownership experience. You don't really get that with a Corvette. And I'm just being real with you. So for those reasons, if you want to be kind of more low key, you don't want all the attention in the world, leave the Lamborghini at home. Take the C8. Yes, the Z06 is a special car. Z06 is a special car, guys. I'm really loving it, but it ain't no Lamborghini. Like, it's not a Ferrari. Like, nobody will mistake your C8 for a supercar. It's a Corvette. The Z06 is a super Corvette. It is not a supercar for all the reasons I just mentioned. I love the car. I think it might be a keeper. But, we'll see about that. I'll continue to share my experience with you. Okay, another factor I want to share with you guys. Real talk. Let's go back to kind of the head-to-head because we've got the cars going head-to-head tonight, don't we? Guys, the fun factor. Fun factor. They're both fun cars. Like you will enjoy both. I think driving the Lamborghini will be more of an occasion. And I ain't trying to sound bougie. That's not your buddy CJ. I'm just telling you like it is. Like you drive something that is at that level of exotic, like a Lamborghini, Ferrari, Aston Martin. I'm just telling you like it is, guys. It's an occasion. Like you feel different driving these cars. The way they sound, the way the interiors look, the way you interact with the car, all of the, the exotic high-end switches and that whole thing, like there's an experience to that, right? And I enjoy that experience. I have a lot of fun with it. In the Corvette Z06, it's just a Corvette turned up to 12. It's not even turned up to 9 or 10. C8 Z06 is turned up to 12, and I love this car. This car has blown my mind up to this point. Is not the same car as a C8 Stingray. Don't get it twisted. Z06 is next level over a Stingray. Yes, I just got done telling you. The interior is basically the same thing. The trunk, the frunk, the underlying infrastructure, of course, it's the same car. But the driving experience of a Z06 is so incredibly different than a C8 Stingray. Having said that, it's more, I just find it more manageable. It feels more Corvette from an interior standpoint, and component standpoint. It is fun. I had a ridiculous time taking this car out today for a few errands. I had a ridiculous time in the mountains. It inspires confidence with those carbon ceramic brakes. I'm sitting here trying to, figure out which car is more fun. They're both fun, but in different ways. I feel like I'm in a super special Corvette, the C8 Z06. I'm in Super Corvette. That's what it feels like. It's fun at that level. The way it sounds, I giggle all the way down the road. It doesn't look or sound like any other Corvette. It's just ridiculous. Lamborghini is more of the supercar experience, okay? It is. It just is. And there's a fun level to that. So it's kind of a, what am I in the mood for, right? Pizza's great. So is Chinese food. They're both great. In fact, I want to order some right now of both. I want pizza and Chinese food. No, some days I want pizza. Some days I want Chinese food. You see where I'm going with this? Like, what kind of fun do you want to have? It's just different. It's just different, And the last thing I'll say is just, guys, which one, because I think the logical question I've already been asked by friends and by random people who kind of, when I, not necessarily friends, but just people who know me, have already been asking me like, okay, which one do you like better? Which one do you like better? And I'm going to reserve final judgment, but I love them both so far is what I'll tell you. Like the Lamborghini, I'm a guy that, I go through cars. I usually don't keep cars a very long time. I want to get maximum ownership experience, like at bats, right? Like with like as many different manufacturers and models and trim packages. I want it all, right? As a car guy, don't we all want it all? We want to get as much exposure as we can. Now, I know there are car guys who they are Ford guys. They are Mustang guys. That's all they will ever own. And Mustang is better than anything else. There are Porsche guys who own 911s and that's it. And 911s are better than anything in the world. And they will argue with you. I'm not that guy. I love a lot of different cars. Wing to wing, soup to nuts. I love them all. And trucks. And I got a storied past. I have a wild past with cars, man. I'll tell you what. I gotta document it with you guys because it's more than most people know. Cars, trucks, and airplanes, but that's a whole other story. I got a history in aviation as well, but are we talking about that tonight? No, it's not about me. It's about the damn cars. Come on, CJ. Which one do I like better so far? It depends. On the weekend, I want to drive my Huracan a lot on the weekend. I take it out sometimes during the week, but I want to enjoy my Lamborghini on the weekend currently. The Corvette I'll take out all week long, and I'll do that. I did that with my C8 Stingray. I will do that with my Z06. On a road trip, it's not even close. The Z06 will be my road trip car, And the Huracan will be more of a weekend car. That's not to say I won't drive it during the week. I have people in my local town say that, my car is the most driven Lamborghini Huracan because they see me out in it a lot. Some guys never take theirs out. What's the old saying? Certain car drivers, they want to see who's got the lowest miles. I am not that guy. I buy my cars to drive them. Now, there are guys who drive more than me. All right. But I do road trips and rallies and mountain runs and beach runs in my cars. That's not why I bought the Huracan. There are probably guys who do that. There are guys who will wear out their Huracan and their Ferrari and their Aston Martin and their McLaren. Okay. I bought that as more of I don't want to say it's an occasion car, but it's more of my weekend car. Okay. And I love it for that. The C8 Z06 does not scratch that itch. The C8 Z06 scratches a different itch. I wanted the ultimate Corvette. Okay. And I got it. I'll be honest with you. Like, it is so next level over a C8 Stingray. It's just, and it's more than the numbers, because you could sit there and say, well, my C8 Stingray gets 0 to 60 this in a quarter mile. Yeah, that's fine. Good for you. Don't drive a Z06. C8 Stingray owners, do not drive a Z06. I said this in my other episode. I love you, but if you drive the Z06, it's going to ruin it for you. You will want a C8 Z06. You will want to trade in your C8 Stingray and get a Z06. It's just better. It's not harsh, okay? Lamborghini Huracan can be very harsh. C8 Z06 can be a cream puff. It's a wild cream puff, but I'm ready to go on my road trips. That was one of the question marks your buddy CJ had in his mind. Like, how will I like this car on a road trip? And my 500-mile trip to the Tennessee mountains with blacktop excursions, shout out to my boy Eli and Mark and everybody, Dave and all those guys. Listen, that's just my first of many road trips this spring and summer. The C8 Z06 will be my road trip car. I'll be outside. You'll see your buddy CJ. I'm doing the Hot Rod Power Tour this year. Hello? And I'll be in my C8 Z06. I wouldn't bring the Huracan on that. I could. I absolutely could. I won't. I just won't. So which one do I like better? It depends. Two different tools in the toolbox for two different purposes. It doesn't mean I necessarily like one more, but it's still, I've only had the Z06 for a few days. And guys, I'm going to give you more of this type of content, comparing and contrasting the cars. But I wanted to come on here. And by the way, listen, if you guys disagree with me, that's fine. Don't be mad. Don't be mad at your buddy CJ. Give me those comments. I'm just being real and blunt about my perspective. I want to hear your perspective, though. Do you own both of these cars? Have you owned both? Which one do you prefer? Do you disagree with me? That's cool. That's what car guys do. We can disagree and still be friends. Come on. Guys, I love each and every one of you. Really wanted to come on here and share my ownership experience, not as some super high-performance car track guy. I don't claim to be Mario Andretti or Ayrton Senna. I've said that before as well. I'm CJ, your Hot Seat Automotive Podcast, decades car guy. And that's who I am. I do my road trips. I do my rallies. I do my mountain runs. I go to destinations. I drive my cars around town. I'll do some motorsports events with my cars, but more light. So if you want to know what a track fiend thinks about these two cars, you go and watch the track performance reviews. If you a wild VIR, Road Atlanta, all these things are you doing the road courses and all that, go do it and enjoy. And if you prefer one over the other, that's cool. You usually will not find your buddy CJ in a helmet. How do you like that? Like, usually I'm driving and enjoying my cars on the road. And that's the perspective I wanted to give you. So guys, listen, leave me those comments. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Thank you once again. Give me a like and subscribe. More content coming soon. Your buddy CJ loves you. Till I see you again on the next one. Peace.